listening to the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty Show. I'll be your host this evening, Mags. You can follow me over on X at HotseatMags, and I'm joined by the best one, let's be honest. It's the best one from the Fantasy Wildcard team. Together, we do make the best two, though, secretly. It's Kev. It's the Dynasty Mind. You can follow him over there on X, of course, at the Dynasty Mind. Kev, great to see you, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, it's no secret we are the best two, Max. Let's get that out there. We are the best two. I'm doing great, thank you. It's been a busy weekend having the in-laws over from Orkney, but yeah, it's been difficult keeping in touch with the NFL, but we've got a great show tonight. We've picked out the key points from last week and can't wait to deliver our thoughts and make it the best show we've ever had without Ali, right?
The best shows are always the ones without Ali, right? That's absolutely. I mean, a few weeks ago he did it on his own. I think that's the worst show we've ever done, Kev. So let's make up for it this week without Ali, and let's start off with, speaking of no Ali, it's a new era here with the wild card, and it's a new era in the NFL as well. At quarterback, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake. These guys rule, right? They're awesome. Talk to me a little bit about them.
Yeah, I thought this was an ideal topic to kick us off with just how well Caleb Williams did. The surprisingly brilliant performance of Drake May, and also just how well Jaden Daniels has done all season. So Caleb Williams, QB1 on the week. I'm sure that'll not be the last in his career. 4 passing touchdowns. He's been top 6 the past 2 weeks, which, albeit it's been against a couple of scrubby teams, the Panthers and the Jags. Sorry if I've offended those fans. So we just need to see more of it. He's got the bye week coming up now, but I think the past couple of weeks have been a great sort of guide as to the future. And obviously, it's great that he's showing that form early on in his rookie season. You've got Drake May, obviously, his debut game was a QB1 finish in QB12, 3 passing touchdowns. He was my star pick on the DFS show, which turned out really well for me. And he's got the Jags next. They got dismantled by Caleb Williams. So really promising for Drake May to kick on and really give the dynasty managers that have been waiting for him sort of more of the good stuff. And then Jaden Daniels, everybody knows I'm Jaden Daniels' biggest fan. Is my wildcard selection. Only QB9 on the week, but it's the 5th time in 6 games where he's been a QB1 this season. QB3 overall on the year, and he's going around that spot in your startups, in your rankings as such. So I just think really important to sort of call out these 3 guys, the new era at QB, and just say, look, they've hit. I'm going to take a bit of a victory lap out in the offseason. I said that this is one of the best classes I can remember of all time for fantasy QB, and so far it's looking pretty good in those top 3. Obviously, JJ McCarthy, someone else I had in that same bucket as these guys, so we won't really know that until next year. But these 3 guys have made a great start, and these were all top 5 rookie picks in your rookie drafts. I think they're going to be cornerstone assets in your dynasty league. You can be really pleased with how they've begun their careers.
Yeah, they're all absolute crushes. It's great to see Drake May especially coming in. I think a lot of people were a little bit worried about what that was going to look like with that offensive line at New England. And Kev, I'm going to say as well, last 3 weeks, quarterback 12, Bo Nix. Let's not forget, Bo Nix is in this conversation as well. We have Caleb and we have Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, all 3 of them as top 12 quarterbacks in the last 3 weeks, which is absolutely crazy. You're right. I expect JJ McCarthy to come in. I mean, we see Sam Darnold, who's out there, seeing ghosts like Casper run around. I think JJ McCarthy's going to do just fine if Sam Darnold's performing. And I think Michael Penix Jr. is a great fit for the Falcons offense if he ever does take the field there instead of Kirk Cousins. So even the guys that we haven't really got in depth on, the future's looking bright for them as well. And they're right. That new era quarterback looks to be really set in stone as, coming out next year. Not a whole lot And then we got the whole Arch Manning thing. That the Arch Manning mania, that's coming. Don't worry. But next year, nothing really standing out as of yet. So yeah, I think you're right. These are all cornerstones for your teams for sure. And speaking of cornerstones, or maybe potential cornerstones, our next topic's going to be about the next man up, right? And this is a topic that Ali was going to talk about, so it'll be even better now that he's not here. We can just chat about it, Kevin. Just get that out the way, that pit that Ali would ruin. So we'll chat about it a little bit instead.
Yeah, we don't need
some. Yeah, we don't need it. We don't need. We're the next man.
We don't need the next man up there. He's just done.
Yeah, exactly. He's Dalvin Cook, right? He's on the bench somewhere, right? He's done. But let's talk about some of these next men up. And Ali listed a couple of them. He listed, Sean Tucker / Bucky Irving at his Bucks, Tyrone Tracy, Kamani Vidal, Isaac Guerrero, all as potential, next men up for their teams. Kev, where are you sitting on some of these guys? Do you think some of them are just a 1 week fill-in, or is there some kind of long-term potential for any of them?
I mean, it's so upsetting for Ali, isn't it? He talks about the next man up, his first topic. The first two players he was going to talk about was Tucker and Irving coming off that 50-burger performance for the Bucks winning in New Orleans, and he's decided not to show up tonight, which is his choice. Now he has actually got something on family meal. Yeah, if we're going to disclose the true details, it's family meal. Don't want him getting too upset, but yeah, I think Bucky Irving, he's the guy you want to run in that backfield, just with how it's trending. I think Sean Tucker, that was an absolute shocker to me. Like a guy that's had.
Oh, what was that? Yeah,
he's played in 14 career games and he's amassed 30 rushing yards before the 100 plus that he got this week. So that was truly amazing to see that, and the great receiving touchdown play as well. I think he's got to be rostered in Dynasty leagues. How do I think I'm not too sure, because there's been talk of that three-headed monster from the head coach there, which it's going to be messy. Rashad White has still got a year and a half left on his rookie deal as well, so I can't see him going away too easily. He's been solid in the past game, so that's going to be a mess. Out of the other guys you mentioned, look, Tyrone Tracy, he's had a bit of hype on this shot, hasn't he? He's done really well in the time that he's come in, and I'm hoping he keeps that job longer term.
Yeah.
Kimani Vidal flashed his first touch in the NFL, was that receiving touchdown, but I still think at this stage he's behind Dobbins. His biggest aim short term is overtaking Gus Edwards, keeping that role and not losing it to another veteran in that team in the background, but promising there. And Isaac Guerrero, look, he did great on in the game against the Seahawks. A couple of nice touches, good runs in that game. Potentially going to see a workload against your Chiefs this week as well, so you'll be able to get a cleaner look at him with that workload. And just another guy I want to pick out as well. Ray Davis did a great job against the Jets on Monday Night Football. I think it's slightly different. We know it's James Cook's team. He's performing as an RB1. But Ray Davis, if he gets an opportunity or takes that role from Ty Johnson's backup, he's gonna fly.
Yeah, I think all these guys are super nice guys to have on your teams. That the Tucker and Irving one, that could end up being a headache if it does end up being a 3-headed monster, because you're not really going to know when to start any of them, which would be quite annoying. Tyrone Tracy, I mean, let's be like, I don't know what Giants fans think of Devin Singletary, but he's fine, right? It's so hard to get excited about Devin Singletary, right? You just kind of like, yeah, sure. But Tyrone Tracy seems like a guy that can actually excite a fan base a little bit. So it'd be nice to see him coming in and getting a bit more work compared to Singletary. He'll just plod along and do his normal stuff, right? Kimani Vidal got loads of hype preseason. Obviously, Dobbins has come in and cemented himself, I think, as the guy there. I don't see Vidal taking over, but yeah, you're right. He could be someone that in a desperation week you might need to put in your flex spot, maybe, but you're probably not wanting to start any of these guys, really. You're not really, but they're obviously one injury away from potentially being able to definitely step up. They're in that second tier of backups in terms. Oh, sorry, that first tier of backups, I should really say, in terms of if they step up and step in, they'll be able to take all the workload. Whereas others, you're not really sure what's going to happen. Is it going to be a weird sort of committee? These guys are ones that you can feel pretty confident that they can step in. A bit like, you remember a few years ago, Dalvin Cook got injured all the time at the Vikings, and you knew it was Alexander Mattison time, right?
Yeah.
I feel like these guys are in that Alexander Mattison role where you're happy that they can come in and do a good job for your team. So that's kind of where they are now. I can't wait until, they're all free agents and they all get hyped up. Who they're going to go start for, and then they end up being backups again. That's the inevitable running back cycle. So we got that to look forward to, Kev, right?
Yeah, I think I can't believe Dalvin Cook's had 2 mentions. We're 11 minutes in, so it's a great evening for Ali's brother Dalvin.
Absolutely. Dalvin, of course, had the family meal. That's the only thing he's done this year. It's attend that meal. So let's move on to another topic where things are on the rise. Hey, what happened to the Konami QB? It's a passing QB's league right now, Kev, because what I kind of noticed, though, just kind of browsing, looking through, I mean, outside of your Lamar and your Jaden Daniels, who's had over 60 rushes, in fact, they're both pretty close to the amount of rushes that Jahmyr Gibbs has had, which is absolutely crazy. There doesn't really appear to be a real distinct link between the amount of rush attempts that a quarterback is getting and the overall scoring that they're getting, which is quite interesting for fantasy. It might just be that we're not getting as many, rushing QBs at the moment, but you've got guys like Baker and Burrow and Geno and Purdy and CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams, Kirk Cousins, all these guys up there at the top end of the quarterback scoring system. None of them are particularly known for their huge rushing ability. And whenever you actually look at the quarterbacks that have had the most attempts at rushing, Daniel Jones is up there. Bo Nix, who we talked about, he's all the way up there. Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson's up there. So, Kev, is this just 6 weeks in, and eventually we'll expect things to level out, and we'll see guys like a Jalen Hurts eventually start to rise back up, and Justin Fields, who's been rushing a lot, and even, dare I say, Daniel Jones, and definitely Kyler Murray. Will we start to see those guys start to rise up to the top because of their rushing ability, or is the league kind of moving on and we're seeing these passers start to overtake them?
I think it's a really interesting point looking at the landscape and the fantasy points per game. The top 5, you've got Baker, you've got Jordan Love, you've got Joe Burrow. So 3 out of the top 5 are all your traditional pocket passers. There's Lamar and Jaden Daniels on there that you'd consider dual threat, but they've both been excellent with their arm as well. So I think if we look back over time in history, the Konami QBs do tend to rise to the top and give you that edge in your Dynasty leagues. But you look at where some of these guys have been drafted again off their recent ADP. Baker Mayfield was QB 18, we'll say, maybe the start of the season. So if you're getting a QB2 performance, you've absolutely smashed that. But just looking elsewhere in the top 12, guys like Joe Flacco, Jared Goff, Geno Smith, these are all pocket QBs. I think there's been some Konami QBs that have really struggled. Anthony Richardson's the big one where he's completely fallen off the map. And then even your Konami QBs that have done well, Justin Fields, he's potentially going to lose his job, which is quite frankly one of the biggest head scratchers I can remember in my whole time watching American football. But yeah, it ranged to the point that it's a passing league and you've got to be a good passer really to keep your job. But for fantasy, I still do feel that the Konami QBs, that is the dual threat upside, that they're the ones that I'm still gravitating towards, but also not to just disregard pocket QBs because you can find these values which are massively useful for your dynasty teams.
Yeah, I think they'll still eventually end up back up at the top. I have a funny feeling you're right, and it could be that this is the year they don't, and then we end up back with the Konami to just add that extra layer for sure. But it's damn, I'd love Baker Mayfield to finish up at that top. That'd be such a good story to see a guy like that have finally get his flowers that he's deserved for so long. So that would be great. And Speaking of dual threats, Kev, this is a different kind of dual threat because it's kind of a dual fooling that this player's done on you. So talk to me a little bit about Will Levis, will we?
Yeah, I mean, if we have to, I did pick out this topic a bit there, so it's not against my own will, Levis. But yeah, I think that there's a saying is that fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And got to tell a story about like bad prospects. Kenny Pickett, obviously the Eagles QB. I thought he was a terrible prospect. But when he was going in rookie drafts, I took him at value, and his value actually rose despite being terrible as a rookie. And I couldn't sell him anywhere. So I was stuck with this absolute garbage QB that I've not been able to sell anywhere. And that process of being able to pivot, it never came true to fruition. So I thought, what's the point of drafting QBs that I don't particularly think are going to do well, other than that rising value where I can pivot? And that was me messing up once. I've done it again with Will Levis, a guy that I didn't think was going to be a good prospect at all, but starting QB in the NFL, opportunity to rise in value, which he has from when he entered the league. And yeah, try and pivot from it now. Try and sell him in the league. You have got absolutely no chance in a 1-for-1 deal. Just how he's played awful. 95 pass yards this week. QB 27 out of 28. There's only Dak that was worse than him this week out of the starting QBs. 7.3 fantasy points, which surprisingly out of the 5 games, that's his third best. So he's actually got 2 worse games than this last week.
Wow.
They lost 2017. It was coming off a bye where they was expected to beat the Colts at home. He's 1-4 on the season. He's 4-9 in his career. The Titans have got the 6th pick in the draft next year. Granted, it's not great for QB, but they'll probably reach on a QB like we saw this year with teams like the Broncos taking Knicks early. If they need a QB, they'll take one there. And yeah, just second-round draft capital for him. There's no ties to this coaching staff, which was going to save him from the Bengals. I truly think it's time to eject on Will Levis because he's truly terrible. And I made that mistake by taking some of him, and I'm going to struggle to pivot off him. I think what you've got to do is put him in a package deal to try and hide that standalone value. If you try and sell him for a second or a third or whatever, you're going to really struggle. I think you've got to make him a throw-in and try and recapture some of the value by the other pieces that you're going to acquire from the other side. I think, his backup's Mason Rudolph. We're going to see him soon. It's going to be Christmas coming early for those Titans fans.
I mean, I'm not sure how happy they're going to be to see Mason Rudolph, to be honest, mate. I think could Ryan Tannehill be in for a glorious return to the Titans? I mean, he's definitely going to do better than those 2 guys. Will Levis. You know what the worst thing about it as well, like, and this probably shouldn't affect it, the fact that he's been turned into a meme so many times now just takes, like, his that definitely does plummet value as well. People are like, oh, that guy, like, I'm not going to give you anything for that guy. If you, like, ignore the performances, but just look at, like, the highlights that you've seen online, that definitely does affect value, and Will Levis is certainly being affected by it. Yeah, you're right. Good luck moving him. I've got 1, maybe 2 shares of Will Levis. It's just, yeah, to be honest, Kevin, I haven't even tried to move him on because right now I'm just like, what's the point? Like, what is the point of it? I'm just gonna hold on to him. Hopefully he'll end up somewhere, and there might be a time in his career where there's some kind of resurgence, like a Zach Wilson, where he did end up getting a start in Will Gill, and then that's when you try and move him on at that stage. Because right now there's literally no point with Will Levis, which is a shame because when he first came in, did he not throw like 4 or 5 touchdowns like in a half when he first came in? Like, looked really good throwing the ball. Yeah, seems like it's gone. Maybe sitting out the rest of the years actually not the worst thing for him. So I think that's something they're going to have to consider doing for sure. So moving on from one downward spiral to another, and this was Ali's second topic. And Kev, let's we didn't discuss this pre-show, but I'm gonna get set a little task for you. Ooh. So Ali's topic here is more name than game. He's listed 4 players. I want you to put them in order, of which of these have more name than game. So number one would be the person that is writing off their name more than the actual game. That makes sense? And number four would be the least. So Brandon Ayuk, George Pickens, Amari Cooper, and Jackson Smith and Jigba are the four names there that Ali thinks are writing more off their name value than what they're actually doing for your Dynasty team. So Kev, talk me through who would you have as number one and go through the list from there.
Yeah, it's good. We're going to do Ali dirty here out because he's put Amari Cooper on here, who obviously the very recent trade news that he's been traded to the Bills. So he might have slightly different opinions on that, but we can talk for that as we go. And I think the play with the most name and the least game as such for me, it's George Pickens, a guy that's 9.9 fantasy points per game, someone that he's known more for penalties, fighting, losing his shit. Like he has the odd acrobatic catch in there, which is fantastic. Maybe he's part of the reason behind the potential QB change for the Steelers, fact they're not hitting on the deep ball as such. But yeah, he's a young guy. There's still time. We're not ruling him out, but for the hype he gets, there's not that much substance behind it. I've had a couple of Dynasty managers trying to sell me in for first and saying that he's definitely worth for a random 2025 first, and I'm not there. I think to be giving up that draft capital for a wide receiver, you've got to be top 20 pretty solidly, and I'm not there with Pickens. He'd be number one, I think. Running through the others, number two, Jackson Smith, the Jigba. A guy that, flash promise, but we're not going to get that clarity, I don't think, till Tyler Lockett's out of town next season, the season after. Brandon Ayuk's a guy that, when you look at the metrics behind his numbers from previous years, he's done great, but he's not done it this year for whatever reason. With the 49ers, and he's 26, 27 now. There's got to be a time where it all comes together. And then the one that's actually got game is Amari Cooper, and this is without the trade to the Bills. He's someone that has had really high fantasy finishes, someone that a lot of people are going to be really excited for teaming up with Josh Allen. It's really surprising a team with 74 slot receivers trades for an outside wide receiver. Complete shock there. Not.
Yeah, I think you've done a really good job there with ranking them. I'm definitely putting Pickens at one. Smith and Jigba and Ayuk's tricky, right? That's maybe the one I would find the most tricky.
Yeah.
But yeah, no arguments from me on your rankings there, Kev. So absolutely great job with that. And we're going to close out the show like we always do, which is the Fantasy Wildcard Traffic Light Party game. Let's get into it, Kev. This week I picked the topic for it. It's these goddamn injuries. Now, every year people come on and they say this is the worst year for injuries. This is the worst year for injury. But it really does seem like this year's really, really sucked. So just to kind of highlight that, I'm going to give you a list of players. Now, all of these players are either currently injured or just coming off injuries. And I want you to give me our traffic light of green, you think they'll be fine. Amber, you're slightly concerned maybe about lingering injuries. And red, oh no, they're going to get injured again, or this is a huge problem with injuries. So maybe less so the actual player, Kev, but more, what are you thinking about injury concerns for them, if that makes sense. So these are all ranked in points per game. So this will kind of show you how extreme this is, because all of these players I'm about to mention, every single one of them are a top 8 points per game player within their respective positions. So it's crazy, the high end of player that's been hit this year. So starting things off, he's just come back. It's Jordan Love, Kev. What are you thinking for him?
Yeah, it was gruesome at the time, wasn't it? Yeah, he came back so quick from what looked a bad injury week one. I thought for me, he's a green for me. Like it looks like he's over it. He's doing fantastically well. So green is the colour he plays in. Yeah,
I thought I'd tee you up with a nice easy one to start with there. It's a definite green for me as well for Jordan Love. He's like absolutely brilliant. So moving on, second one, another injury. Kenneth Walker the third, if only it was only his third injury of his career.
Yeah. I'll take an amber on this just with the brutality of the running back position and how things can go. I think, again, he's had an awesome season, fantasy points per game, but amber for me in terms of will he get re-injured on this particular one.
Yeah, he's actually the running back 3 in points per game, which surprised me. Like, when the guy's on the field, he's really, really elite. But yeah, you're right, amber for me too. Just can't stay on the field. And another guy who's traditionally been able to stay on the field, but a bit rocky when he's moved to the Texans. Joe Mixon, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think Mixon being an older guy, I'm either amber or red, and probably will go amber just because he has shown durability over the past. So I'll give him some amber, but it was close to being red.
Yeah, I'm right there with you as well. It's an amber. Amber for me for Joe Mixon, especially when you get just running backs that age in general, they automatically start moving to amber. But still, when he's been on the field, running back 5 in points per game, and moving on from Mixon, who was running back 5, to the running back 7 in points per game. Jonathan Taylor missing some more time again, Kev. Where does that put you on the traffic light party for him?
Yeah, again, this is very similar to Mixon. I think he's a guy that has shown an ability to handle a workload early in his career, but the past few years he has been nicked up a little bit. I'll stick an amber on him, but again, this was close to red.
I'm getting real close to red with Jonathan Taylor. Like, when he is on the field, he does produce, obviously, but he's missed so much time over the last... I know last year was a bit of like Fugazi time where he was kind of messing around, saying he was unfit with his contract and stuff, but even still, you've only got such a short shelf life as a running back in this league, and Taylor might be one of those elite guys that can go a little bit longer than others, but if he gets more injuries, that's not happening. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Orange turning red, and these next 3 really highlight the severity of injuries this season.
Amazing.
Because this is wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and wide receiver 3 for points per game on the season, Kev. Can you give me rapid fire on AJ Brown, Malik Neighbors, and Nico Collins?
AJ Brown hamstring, so he's for me. That's a red for me. Malik Neighbors concussion, amber, just because we don't know the severity on that, and then Nico Collins is also a red. Hamstring's a big issue for me at wide receiver. Re-injury is massive, so give me a red, amber, red.
It's such a shame, isn't it? Right, the top 3 point scorers for that position all been hampered by injuries this year, and it doesn't even end there at wide receiver because we're going to close things out with poor old Cooper Kupp, who still, while he's on the field, is elite, wide receiver 6 in points per game, but just can't see the field.
Yeah, what was his injury again? It was
just being Cooper Kupp. I don't know.
Still out. It's his ankle. I think it was his ankle, was it? Let's finish on a high. Let's go for I'll say a high, an amber. We'll give it an amber.
Yeah, let's give Cooper Kupp an amber. Why not, Kev? Just feeling in the giving mood. Since Christmas is coming early with Mason Rudolph, let's give Cooper Kupp an early present, shall we? So, with that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. If you don't already, make sure that you follow the show over on X at Fantasy Wildcard and, of course, at Wildcard Dynasty, as well as checking us out over on YouTube. Looking up for that Fantasy Wildcard Podcast Network, you'll be able to find us. Make sure you're following myself and Kev. If you follow Ali, make sure to unfollow him as well. We will be back next week with some more Dynasty Gold. Until then, from me and Kev, see you later. Bye.
When you have the wild card, you have the power to change the game.